Dear students, welcome to the third class of Human Resource Management. I hope all of you are safe and sound for the moment. Now, as you can already see here, in today's lecture, we are going to analyze the job of a chef. Now, I'm sure many of you have seen this kid over the internet, right? I mean, he was an internet sensation for quite a few days. Every time I saw this kid, I was like, how come he's smiling so lively on camera every time? Helping his mom in baking cakes and making pasta like a pro, right? Just like this kid, I'm sure many of you have tried new dishes with your family members this time during the lockdown period, right? Many of you may have succeeded, made wonderful dishes with your family members, right? While some of you may have failed just like this kid. I don't know about you guys, but I have definitely burned quite a few dishes this time. I tried and I failed. So again, in today's lecture, we are going to analyze the job of a chef. Why? Because in today's class, we are going to cover chapter number 4 from your book. The chapter is on job analysis and the talent management process. So in explaining all the concepts and all the definitions of this chapter, we are going to analyze few real life jobs like the job of a chef. So regarding today's lesson plan, I'm going to analyze these three concepts. Number one, job analysis. Number two, job description. And finally, number three, job specification. Do not worry for now. These are all technical terms. So it's very normal to not understand any of these concepts right now. But I assure you, by the end of today's class, all of these concepts will be crystal clear to you. Moving on. In analyzing and applying all the concepts from today's class, all of us together are going to analyze three different jobs. Number one, the job of a chef. Number two, the job of a cricketer. And finally, we are going to analyze the job of a marketeer. I'm sure many of you are born marketeers here, right? Many of you would love to work for Coca-Cola and work as a marketeer to come up with really strong and beautiful advertising campaigns. I mean, who wouldn't want to work for Coca-Cola when you get to work all day and have lifetime Coca-Cola for free? So we are going to analyze the job of a marketeer as well. Moving on to job analysis. Now, before going into the definition and explanation of job analysis, the first point I would like to mention here is why do we need to do a job analysis? Why do we need to analyze a job? Now, I'm not going to say things that are already in the books, right? So I'm going to avoid the bookish stuff and look at the practical reasons for job analysis. First, I'm going to reveal a photo or a meme here. And I'm 100% sure that most of you can relate to this photo very well. It's just like one of those Jibon theke neya type photos. So here it goes. All of you can relate, right? Now, why is this happening? Because maybe the imaginary company here has not properly analyzed the job they have advertised on the newspaper or Facebook or LinkedIn. The company itself does not know what type of candidates they need exactly. Do they need work experience at all? Or can the job be done by fresh graduates very well? Maybe the main problem of such kind of advertisements is that the company has not analyzed the job or done any job analysis, and they do not know what types of person or job candidate will be required to do the job. They have made the job advertisement based on their own assumptions. And maybe the company thinks that hiring someone without a job experience is forbidden. It's a crime or a sin to commit. Fresh graduates cannot do anything. That is very wrong. That is very, very wrong. And had they done a thorough job analysis, they would not have done this sort of mistake. All right? The next point. I'm sure many of you have seen these kinds of ads where again an imaginary company is recruiting or hiring sales executives. But the problem is, except for these two lines, the advertisement do not provide any kind of detailed information. It's just these two lines. They don't tell us what is the salary. We do not know that. Then what are the responsibilities of the job? What are the things or tasks that we need to do if we get hired for the job? Nothing about that. Then what is the working hours? Is it 5 days a week or 6 days a week? Is it 8 hours a week? Nothing is mentioned. Then it's not even mentioned whether I need to move outside Dhaka sometimes or is it within Dhaka always. Finally, we also do not know what kind of skills do we need to perform the job. Many advertisements say that an undergraduate degree is required, nothing else, but that is not enough. Do I need good communication skills? Do I need negotiation skills? Do I need computer or technical skills? Do I need to have programming language expertise? Nothing about that. Will having an extra qualification help me over the other candidates? Nothing about that as well. So I guess these are the problems that we may find in some of the job advertisements. Now, why is this happening? Because again, the companies have not analyzed the job properly. They have not done any proper job analysis. Maybe the imaginary companies themselves do not know what are the exact responsibilities of a sales executive, what are the exact qualifications or exact skills needed to perform the job well, right? So, we need to learn how to analyze the job properly, and that's where job analysis comes in. So after doing today's class, you will be able to design really good and detailed job analysis for different companies, or maybe even for your own company for that matter. Now, before moving on and starting to give you the formal definition, please take note of two very important points. Number one, when you hear any definition for the first time, it might seem a little bit confusing to you. Do not worry. Right after the definition, when I give you the examples of real life job analysis, of real life practical jobs, the concepts will be crystal clear to you. Alright? So every definition will be followed by thorough examples. Now, point number two. This is a very crucial slide, not for this class only, but for the rest of the semester as well. From this photo, we can see that there is a job candidate and there are two HR managers. Now, while doing our HR class and learning HR concepts, sometimes we will have to think of ourselves as job candidates. And in other classes, we might have to think of ourselves as HR managers. Why? Because in HR course, we will learn some concepts that are usually done by HR managers. At the same time, we will learn concepts that are done by job candidates. Just to elaborate a little bit further, when in the future classes, we will learn concepts related to hiring people or firing people, we will think of ourselves as HR managers. On the other hand, when we learn concepts related to how to do well in interviews and how to speak confidently in interviews, we will think of ourselves as job candidates. Now, for most of today's lecture, we are going to think of ourselves as HR managers because job analysis is a task that is mostly done by the HR department of an organization. So yes, let's start our role as HR managers and start our job analysis. Job analysis is the procedure or process of determining two things mainly. So the first point is the duties and responsibilities, working conditions, and other important aspects of the job. So this is one of the things that we want to determine by doing job analysis. And the other point is the skills required to do the job and the kind of person who should be hired for it. So these are the 2 points that we want to determine by doing job analysis. So job analysis is the process through which we determine or find out these 2 points. Now, this is sort of the formal definition, bookish one. Do not worry if you're a little bit confused like this guy, right? So formal definitions are a little bit confusing always. I will explain each of these points one by one through examples. So right now, I will show you what do I mean by duties and responsibilities. What do I mean by working conditions? What do I mean by other important aspects? And so on. So moving on. First, what do I mean by responsibilities? Basically, responsibilities simply mean my duties. So if I am hired for the job, what are the things I need to do in my job? What are my daily tasks? What are my daily duties? Right? So that's what responsibilities are. Say we are going to analyze the job of a chef. So what are the responsibilities of a chef? So number one responsibility is cook food. Obviously, this is the most obvious one, right? So the chef, he or she has to cook delicious recipes just like these. So this is one of the responsibilities of a chef. Now the next responsibility can be to create new menu items. So this can be another responsibility of a chef. I mean, offering the same menu days after days will not do any good to the chef. People will not come to the restaurant, right? So the chef will obviously have to create delicious, good-looking recipes like these. Next, one of the other responsibilities can be to assist the head chef with large dinner or lunch preparations. So as you can see here, when there is a large party coming up or a large group of people coming up, the chef might have to help the head chef in preparing these large dinner or lunch items. Moving on, the next responsibility can be maintaining kitchen hygiene. Obviously, I mean, the chef has to maintain kitchen hygiene because cooking in dirty dresses or dirty environment is not desired by anyone. Trust me. Obviously, I mean, as customers, we do not want to be served cockroaches from the kitchen, right? So, yes, that's one of the major responsibilities of a chef. Moving on, the chef also might have to provide training to sous chefs. And by sous chef, I mean junior chefs. So if the chef is a senior chef, that chef might have to provide training to sous chefs or junior chefs who are working under him or her. Moving on, the chef might have to attend staff meetings on a regular basis, just like any other job. And finally, the chef might have to work occasionally overtime during weekends. So this is one of the responsibilities of a chef as well. Because I mean, obviously on weekends there will be huge overload. People will be going in and obviously the chef might have to do some overtime to cope with the huge demand in the restaurant. So these are all the responsibilities of a chef. And how did we find these responsibilities? By doing a thorough job analysis. So we got these responsibilities by doing a job analysis of a chef. Moving on, we have working conditions, remember? So what do I mean by working conditions? Again, just to give you the definition, by working condition, I mean what are the conditions, rules, and regulations that an employee must follow while doing the job. Once again, what are the conditions, rules, and regulations that an employee must follow while doing the job? At the same time, by working condition, I also mean what is the environmental condition of the workplace. Again, I'll explain all of these with examples. So moving on. For a chef, one of the working conditions might be to work 8-hour shifts 5 days a week. So this is one of the rules or regulations or conditions of the work. Then another condition might be that the chef has to wear uniform in the workplace all the time. So this is also another rule of the job. So these two are rules, right? So these two are working rules or working conditions. Now remember, I also said that by working condition I mean the working environment. So now some examples regarding that. Number one, working in high temperature. So this is the working environment. So a chef might have to work in a high temperature condition. So this is one example of the working environment or the working condition. Now, another similar example can be to work with dangerous equipment such as knife and fire. Obviously, a chef has to work with knife and fire all the time. So this is another working condition or working environment. So the environment is a little bit dangerous. So this is another working condition of a chef's job. Now, please note, if a job requires working in dangerous environment or requires working with any dangerous equipment, it must be mentioned in the working condition. Otherwise, the people applying for the job might be surprised to know about the dangerous condition later on and may even leave the job. So that's not something that any one of us would want. So for example, if it is the work of a construction worker, the working condition must mention that the worker has to climb high-rise buildings. All right. So all the dangerous conditions must be mentioned. So till now we have discussed responsibilities, we have discussed working conditions. Now let's move on to skills or qualities of the job. So by just looking at the title, I guess you have already understood what I mean by skills and qualities. Yes, you guessed it right. So in order to do the job, what are the skills that an applicant must have? What are the qualities or qualifications that an applicant must need in order to apply for the job or even get hired for the job? So after doing job analysis, we can also find that out as well. So now let's take a look at the needed skills or qualities of a chef. So number one, if we are talking about a job of a chef at a big shot famous restaurant, then one of the needed qualifications might be an experience of working as a chef for 3 years. So this is one of the qualifications that a chef needs to have in order to get hired for that job, right? So this is one of the qualifications. Another requirement might be to have a degree in culinary arts. Again, we are talking about a big shot restaurant. So that restaurant might require you to have a degree in culinary arts. So that's one of the other qualifications. Moving on, another required skill might be to have the ability to regularly lift 15 kg, right? Because as you can see here, as a chef, you might have to be able to lift a full-sized goat or a lamb for processing and cooking, right? So this might be one of the skills or qualities that you need to have as a chef. Then another required skill might be to have the ability to speak basic level English. So we are talking about language proficiency here. So if we are hired for a high-end restaurant, we may have to deal with foreigner guests. So in that case, English speaking capabilities at the basic level at least is a requirement for the job. So these are a sample of skills or qualities or qualifications needed from a chef. And how did we get this list? Again, through job analysis. By doing a thorough job analysis, we came up with this list of skills or qualities or qualifications. So, to summarize again, by doing a thorough job analysis, we found out what are the responsibilities of a chef and what are the working conditions of a chef. Now I will explain the other important aspects in the next video of the class. So here we got to know about duties and responsibilities, working conditions, and skills required for the job and the kind of person required, right? So we got to know about these 4 issues. Alright, so in this video we have discussed job analysis. Now in the very next video we are going to discuss what do we mean by job description and what is job specification. So thank you for listening to this lecture. See you very soon in the upcoming video.